So first, we're going to be hearing from our tradition bearers and our apprentices from the Cedar Tree Genome Project. Dr. Karika Weldon is unfortunately not with us, so first we're going to hear from J.P. Rouger, the videographer for the project. Just looking for his bio really quickly. You didn't send one, that's all right, cool. Mr. Rouger.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry you have to listen to me instead of Karika, because she's far more eloquent than I am. I'm actually the new director of the BioQuest NGO. BioQuest was spun off from Care Genetics to focus on biodiversity conservation in Bermuda and the Caribbean, using the labs and the staff and the training from Care Genetics itself. I'm happy to be involved in this project and looking for the connections as we're making here today. I would say that your program goes beyond just this tradition bearers to apprentices exchange. Especially in our case, it's become a intergenerational exchange of ideas. That we have our apprentice who's learning about the historical and the cultural significance of the Bermuda cedar, but also the efforts that the National Trust is making to propagate them. And through that, we're leveraging genomics to give back and find ways to assist with the ongoing propagation and the future parts of the effort that the Trust is making for the good of Bermuda as a whole. So it's very much a two-way conversation, as you'll see in the short. We did produce a very rushed short film over the last 10 days. It really is meant to be a teaser of what's coming up. It's not our Bermuda Cedar Tree project, the Genome project that we're doing has taken on very big legs. I mean, it's gone much bigger than we thought. We're getting a lot of international connections to this now. There's a lot of interest in cedar tree genomes or juniper genomes in general globally. This is one of the first ones being done anywhere. So we're having to interface with experts from around the world, and this is going to benefit not just Bermuda, it's going to benefit other places that are dealing with similar problems. Interesting to see also, the seeds that Myles is getting is coming from other tradition bearers that you're working with, and I see tradition bearers from before who were working with cedar. It connects us all. So the cedar tree really connects the churches to the artisans to everything all together. It's an amazing way of keeping Bermuda together, and I'm glad that we're part of it.
Before we hear from the apprentice for this particular tradition and the tradition bearer, we're going to see a video for the project.
My name is Darrell. I'm the head of natural heritage here at the National Trust.
My name is Pacheco, and I'm an apprentice at BioQuest and Care Genetics.
It's really nothing like experiencing the fusion of knowledge, passion, and heritage. And this will be the second time I've had the pleasure of facilitating this celebratory breakfast. But I was actually working at the department for a bit, and I got to look after the cultural apprenticeship program. And again, listening to people talk about something that they're knowledgeable about, and then passing that on in this very explicit effort of preservation, and how that manifests in heritage. And of course, I'm a St. Georgian. Hearing the bell ringing when I'm walking down the street at night is a very special thing, because I didn't realize how much I missed that sound. So I can't wait we're gonna hear more about the bell restoration. And I worked at St. Peter's Church. I used to take walks up in the bell tower and look at the clock and go, oh my God, I wish this thing would be working. And I grew up with Phillip, so for him to be from St. George's, and now he has this skill and this tradition, and Ian and I know each other peripherally because he always sees my daughters and everything. So this is a very, 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 very special program. But we're gonna hear from Myles. Myles Darrell, the head of natural heritage at the Bermuda National Trust. Myles is a horticultural enthusiast and environmentalist with a commitment to environmental protection and conservation and the traditions of agriculture, gardening, and growth. Most recently, his primary focus has been on the preservation and protection of Bermuda's native and endemic flora, including advocacy for the unique habitats that make Bermuda special. He was voted a Bermudian of the Year in 2023 for these works and his dedication to the community. Was it com- environmental warrior. It was, what did,
I can't remember.
okay.
That sounds right, though.
Myles has a Bachelor of Science degree in biology, which had a strong focus on co-constructed, contextualized environmental science learning, and was followed by a graduate diploma of teaching secondary science from Waikato, close enough, University in New Zealand. When he is not working on community projects, he spends time in the garden or enjoying time with family. His wife Sarah and 2 teenage daughters, who he says are his greatest source of motivation. Let's please give a round of applause for Mr. Darrell.
Hey, thank you, everyone. I'm super proud to be here today and to be in the presence of people doing great stuff in Bermuda to preserve our culture, and I think that's one of the most important things we can do. And to be part of this BioQuest initiative here that's brought about by the Department of Culture, so thank you very much. It's really exciting. I know I've been called a tradition bearer, but I think JP said it quite correctly. I feel more like this is a knowledge-sharing opportunity, and I'm certainly passing on everything I can, and I think Sierra is very receptive and really awesome at taking it on. But to be honest, I think at the end of all this, I'm gonna be one of the most excited students, because I'll be taking that information that's built up through this process and adding it to my own repertoire so that I can better the work that I'm trying to do for Bermuda and actually for everyone, because this is part of all our mission, I'd like to think. The preservation of our culture is the preservation of our people and our ideas and our space, and there couldn't be anything more important, because I think Bermuda is something very unique and very special. So I'm not going to speak for a long time. I'm just going to say thank you and let you know how excited I am to be part of this, and hopefully we're going to have this sorted in a way where we're all going to know what real Cedar looks like. Hey, thank you.
You know, you can never, you can always notice like a genuinely humble person. Very understated, yeah. And I also know that humble people don't like it when you talk about them too much, so I'm gonna stop. Next up, we're gonna hear from Sierra Pacheco. Sierra is a graduate from the University of Kent with a Bachelor of Science honors degree in forensic science. Investigative science has always been of interest to her, so when she was offered the apprenticeship with Carry Genetics, she was eager to get on board and work alongside professionals to gain more work experience. Working in a lab has shown her the benefits of good communication and teamwork. Alongside this and the sharing of knowledge with Mr. Darrell, she was able to further appreciate how STEM can have a significant impact on preserving our culture. Love to hear from you, Sierra.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for having me. It's a very wonderful opportunity. Like I said in the video, growing up as a young Bermudian, I have a lot of fond memories about cedar trees. I'm sure everybody else can relate. We all have very fond memories of these trees. They're a very important part of our lives. So as a person in STEM and as someone who has a degree in science, especially investigative science, it's a very wonderful opportunity to be able to investigate these trees and actually make sure that we can preserve the specific pure Bermuda cedars instead of just what we assume to be true. It could be hybrids. Sorry, I'm very nervous. But yeah, being able to take in all that information that Myles has been able to give me and actually being able to see the stages of growth for these trees has been very eye-opening, and even the fact that trees that are younger can be significantly larger and stronger than trees that are much older. So the fact that we can actually test to figure out the true Bermuda cedar is actually very, very amazing work, and I'm very grateful to be a part of this project. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Sierra, and thank you all again for being involved with this program. And of course, this is such a wonderful example of collaboration. We had Carry Genetics and the National Trust and the department providing knowledge to us as a people that we've been trying to access for quite a while, it seems like. So Carrier Genetics gave us the tools. You came with your expertise. National Trust came with his expertise, and this wonderful knowledge sharing that we're all going to benefit from for generations. So thank you as much as thank you to the department. Thank you for you all for your interest in making yourselves available and for immersing yourselves in the process. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see what else comes from it. Alrighty. Next, we are going to hear from the other apprenticeship the other apprenticeship project that was going on. And with the St. Peter's Church bell restoration, we're going to have a video.
When I first became a watchmaker, if you knew my dad, avid St. Georgian, he loved history and...
So for this apprenticeship, the tradition bearer was Malvyn Reed of clockmakers Thwaites and Reed in the UK, who worked with Ian and Phillip. The clock was built by Thwaites and Reed, a company established in 1740, which last conducted a major restoration in 2009. The project purpose was the maintenance and servicing of the clock to ensure it remains in working order, a very big challenge in Bermuda's climate. Over the years, the provenance of the clock has been established, and it is one of the few original mechanisms carrying out its original function as centerpiece of a local community. So next, we are going to hear from the manager of the Friends of St. Peter's Church, who actually managed the church and the clock. Miss Allison Otterbridge. Allison is the manager of the Friends of St. Peter's Church and the St. George's Foundation. She is a past corporation of St. George Town Councilor and was recognized as a Paul Harris Fellow by the St. George's Rotary Club for her work in Bermuda's UNESCO World Heritage Site. She rarely leaves St. George's, because why would you? Let's give a round of applause to Allison.
Good morning, everybody. It was a long drive. So I'm speaking kind of on behalf of Malvyn Lee from Thwaites and Reed, and just to give you a little bit more background about that company, as Rajay said, they were founded in 1740. Malvyn's family is the third family that has owned that company since the company was founded all those years ago. At one point, they were responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of Big Ben as well. When the clock was brought to Bermuda in 1814, it was brought to the island by a gentleman called John Till, who was the church warden, and later he became one of the mayors of St. George's. His portrait is up in the town hall. So it has been a part of St. George's for generations. They did do a major restoration. The Friends of St. Peter's Church used it as their first big fundraising project when they first were formed in 2009. At that point, the clock was not even in the tower. It had been replaced by an electronic mechanism. And when Malvyn and his team arrived back in those days, back in 2009, they found the clock mechanism sitting in the church office on the top of the safe. And the clock face was not the original face. That had been removed, and they had put up a plastic face. This was because the clock had been damaged so badly during Hurricane Emily. So when they came in 2009, it was a huge project, and they went around all of the church property, and they found bits and pieces. They found the clock face in an old stable. Then they found the clock hand somewhere else, and they slowly put it all together. So fast forward to where we are today, or where we were, let's just say, in 2021, I guess it was, when the clock kind of really stopped again. One of the challenges that had come up, that had forced us into another restoration maintenance project, was the lack of maintenance. And so when we started fundraising for Thwaites and Reed to return to Bermuda, we knew that an important component of this was going to be having somebody here in Bermuda, in St. George's, taking care of the clock when the clockmakers left. So that's why we're so grateful to the Department of Culture for this program. We, in fact, I'd already spoken to Ian and to Phillip, and they had decided to come on board. And Malvyn was very excited before he came to the island to meet them and then to train them whilst they were here. I think that one of the key things I want to get across to folks is that the Friends of St. Peter's Church relies on the support in a big way of donors like the Department of Culture, who are supporting the work that goes on in built heritage within our UNESCO World Heritage Site. Because it's not about an old clock. You know, it's not just about this old timepiece, it's about community. And so when we first decided to embark on this project, because the funds needed, it was $80,000. It had doubled in 2 years. We were planning it pre-pandemic, and by the time we got back around to it, the price had doubled, and we were very intimidated by this. But the first funds that came in to the clock fund were from the students of St. George's Prep School, and they did a penny drive. And all of the students brought in all of their pennies. And then the head boy brought in his entire piggy bank. And then the St. George's PTA also made a donation. And then the St. George's trustees made a donation. And then the businesses in St. George's started making donations. And then, of course, we applied to the UNESCO World Heritage Site Fund, which is managed by the Corporation of St. George. And without their support, this would never have gotten off the ground. So incredibly grateful for all of the financial support, but also the community support. One of the great things was that once we had come to the end of the week of the clockmakers being on the island and working with Phillip and with Ian, was the students who had raised the most funds was Mr. Smith's class. And as a treat, this was when they did the penny drive to begin with, that class all got to come to St. Peter's Church, and they all went up and they saw the clock. And so now it was a year and a half later, and so we had the primary sixes come, which was in fact the same class. And they all got to come back and meet Ian and Phillip and Malvyn and hear the clock being rung and have a presentation about what their pennies went towards, which is what it is all about for us. So yes, Rajay, it's incredible as St. Georgians to hear our clock again, and also to hear the same clock that was heard by our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, for Phillip as a St. Georgian as well, for all of us. It's a tangible connection to our past. So thank you so much to the Department of Culture. We really appreciate your support.
That's so special. That's so special. I know, right? I was about to. I said, Rajay, don't do it. We're going to cry over a clock. Don't do that. Don't do that. But no, I mean, I was walking down the street last. It was 9 o'clock, and I forgot that the clock had been fixed. And I was walking, and the clock started to ring, and all of these memories flooded back from when I was a kid, like 4 or 5 years old. My cousin used to stay where Dr. Simmons is now, at Whitehall. So we would be playing there, and the clock would go off. I mean, and you could feel the vibrations of the clock. It's not just the sound, you know. I mean, I was baptized at St. Peter's. Phillip was probably baptized at St. Peter's. I mean, it's such an integral example of such an essential example of heritage, St. Peter's and the clock. So it's just a very, very special thing. And right now, I'm the PTA president at St. George's Prep. So the school's involved, and I mean, that could have been a huge school project, a project-based learning. I mean, it's such a wonderful example of community and everything that it can be. And then the department just walks in with the apprenticeship program at the perfect time. It was a lock and key. I mean, it was just, yeah. Then I got to work at the department, so I'm going to these wonderful connections. This is great. No, it's a beautiful thing. Next, we're going to hear from Ian Birch, who was one of the apprentices for this program. Ian arrived in Bermuda from England as a language teacher and changed fields to teach computer courses. He worked for N-Star Group, a global insurance company, as chief information officer, managing the company's computer systems and software around the world. Since retiring, he has focused on his passion of restoring old Bermuda houses and taught himself plumbing and electrical skills. I want to be like you when I grow up. He's also an avid woodworker. He and his wife recently purchased and are restoring an early 18th century house within yards of St. Peter's Church. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Ian Birch.
Thank you, Rajay. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me here. And thank you to the department for this apprenticeship program. I I'm a recent St. Georgian. I only moved there about 8 years ago and lived in the old rectory. Because I was so close to the clock, I noticed it wasn't keeping time properly, so I volunteered to maintain it and did that for 4 or 5 years before it actually completely stopped. Hope it wasn't my fault. We didn't really know what we were doing then, so the clock, as Alison said, stopped for a year or so, a couple of years, until we managed to get Thwaites and Reed here with the department's help. And I'd like to mention the austere training program. Basically, Malvyn just had Phillip and myself do all the work. He said, "What do you see? What do you hear?" And then we'll say, "We'll do that, or that. No, look closer." And so through actually overseeing us, we were able to do all the work necessary. We weren't using the correct oil before. We weren't using the correct grease. So now we have specific procedures on what to do for that. As Alison said, I moved to the house next door, so I can always tell when the clock's not working. So that's it, really. Once again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ian. And it's, this idea that, our natural interests and proclivities, people always say, the things that draw you, it serves a bigger purpose, and Ian had this casual interest in the clock, and it serves a purpose. It was obviously a precursor to something else. So thank you for following your interest, Ian, and thank you for being a part of St. George's and a part of this program. Last but not least, we are going to hear from Phillip Anderson Jr., the second apprentice for this project. Phillip was born and raised in St. George's and was mechanically minded as a child. He studied information technology overseas, worked in hospitality, and then trained as a Rolex watchmaker in Bahamas and Geneva. Mr. Anderson fits the task of maintaining St. Peter's Church clock into his busy schedule, which includes playing football and cricket and helping coach his son's football team. Please help me in welcoming to the mic Mr. Phillip Anderson Jr.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for having me today. Thank you for the apprenticeship program. Probably want to start my earliest memory ever, probably for the clock. I remember being in primary school and could not wait to hear the clock at 12 o'clock so I could run out for lunch. So when it stopped, it definitely hurt St. George's. People definitely noticed it. And then I went away to school for watchmaking. I have a little horology background, so when Alison came to me with this program, I was all hands onto making it work. It was also something my father always wanted me to do. He actually passed away 5 years ago, so when that came, it was something I absolutely had to do. I really enjoyed the program, working with Malvyn. Like Ian said, he was very hands-on. He pretty much let us do everything, and we just learned as we go. It was all experience-based. Now it's just about maintaining the clock, right? It's keeping it going. We try to keep it within a minute of the time. Sometimes it goes a bit slower, a bit faster with the temperature. It's been very cold this winter, so it's been quite tricky trying to keep it maintained and regulated time. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, I grew up with Phillip. My mom is his sister's godmother, and so all these wonderful bonds and relationships, and we're all getting older now and taking on responsibility in St. George's. Like, my girls go to St. George's Prep. I'm PTA president there. And my big thing is, I want all the young people in St. George's to grow up with the sense of community that we grew up with. I mean, St. George's back in the 90s was it. I mean, I loved growing up in St. George's. After that, I went to Warwick Academy. I sort of lost my connection with the parish a little bit. And we moved to St. David's. But just the sense of community and cohesion and fun and awareness and knowledge. When we were kids in St. George's, it was second to none. And I'm just so glad that my children are, and then the community center, obviously, which is your sister department, binds St. George's in such an incredible way. And we do not acknowledge the importance of the community centers across the island, but I'm bragging on St. George's right now. And it's a legacy thing. I mean, Aunt Carla's been at the youth center since I was a kid. She's still there. Uncle Charles is still there. Capriel, who went there, now Shiz, it's just and the cultural apprenticeship program is at the epicenter of all of this community and bringing us together more. So thank you again to the department for its vision. No, for your vision specifically, because this is your baby. No, you can't do that because you made it. you literally did, though. And again, thank you to the Friends of St. Peter's Church for not being daunted. It was so funny to hear that there were pieces of the clock around. You had to find the pieces of the clock. And I actually think I remember seeing the clock mechanism on top of the safe at one point in the office. But here I am bragging on, I don't want this project to overshadow this. I know, it's all sharing and we all love each other. But it's all a part of the same vein and a part of the same things. And we just want to say thank you for all of you for your passion. And again, thank you to the department for creating a context for it to take place. Closing remarks, sir? Real quick. Wonderful. We're going to hear from Senator Darrell, or Minister Darrell. I always got it wrong.
Well, Jay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. This is something that is very near and dear to myself personally. Some of you may know that I spent 15 years as an educator in the public school system teaching social science to secondary school students. And one of my favorite courses to teach was a course called Preserving Our Heritage. It was a very important course that, when you tell a high schooler, this is the course I want you to take and it'll be exciting, they look at you like, Mr. Darrell, are you serious? And they think that heritage is just basic things like the basics that we know, like a gumbays and traditional Bermuda kites. But even myself, working with the department and Dr. Kim Dismont-Robinson, the director, and the direction that she gives to the Department of Culture has even elevated my knowledge in how wide and the scope that culture has in Bermuda. Mr. Darrell, I have seen your work in the community and what you do to preserve the ecosystem of Bermuda. And Sierra, it's good to see you getting involved in that, especially in a very specific level and what you're doing. And the director told me a little bit about the cedar tree and the work, so that's good. And also the clock restoration. That was really exciting for me to watch. There's a big clock on the hill in Hamilton that hasn't been working for a while. And so, Mr. Anderson, I'm sure you can take you and Mr. Birch and thank you, and have a look at that one too. But that was really exciting to see, especially for the town of St. George's. And it would be remiss of me if I didn't acknowledge some of the other tradition bearers that are in the room, Mr. Myles, as well as, oh my God, I don't want to forget this one, and Ms. Chameau and Ms. Pyramin. Yes, thank you. And Mr. Hill. Sorry, the reason I'm forgetting is because I wanted to tell this story. And though we are in this room here and we're recognizing the tradition bearers here, you would have seen an article in the newspaper a couple of months ago where Mr. Hill is actually in the school system. And I know many of you have done that as well. Ms. Chameau, you actually came to my class many years ago. I don't know if you remember. A student was doing a project on banana dolls. So you did. So it is instances like this that keep traditions going. And I know I've gotten a little long, I'm sorry, but I want to say thank to all of you for continuing the traditions alive and what you are doing to basically highlight it to the community of Bermuda. I am going to run out as soon as I leave this podium. I am going to the funeral of Leon Sparky Place, and that in itself is tradition as well, as he was one of the oldest surviving Gombe masters of the place's Gombe troupe. So I am off to that funeral to give remarks and condolences to the family on behalf of the government, as well as my political party as well. So I just wanted to say thank you. I did tell the director I had a busy morning and a busy day, but I would stop in because this is important. And I know it's been filmed, the videos, as well as the photos. So I will sit down and review the entire program. Thank you to you, Mr. Denbrook. Thanks again. Have a good day, everyone.
Massive thank you to Graham Maurer, who's the Cultural Program Manager, who managed the Cultural Apprenticeship Program this year. And to our Cultural Program Coordinator, thank you, Hannah. You're the best. Appreciate you. Thank you again to the department for this wonderful program and looking forward to the next iteration. Thank you guys very, very much.